Hello, everybody. Welcome to CTCM Radio, a station for all nations. And we're back with another interview, another video. If you're watching us on our YouTube page, CTCM Radio, and this is going to be another great moment in time in which we're going to have another great person sitting on the couch. And if you continue to notice the last video that we posted, we were in this location. This is the second video that we're doing another interview in this location. This is what we call our family center here at Commitment Church. And it is a place where all families pretty much gather at least once a quarter here for a time of fellowship after Sunday services, and we open it up for for just many different things. It's like a multi-purpose building. We have our conferences here, but we also have like a cafe little area spot that we're building, and a lot of different things are going to be happening in this space. But God has given the privilege for us to be in this space now for this context, which is to hold interviews for the radio, which is a blessing. Today, I have a personal friend of mine. We go way back, but I don't really know a lot about him. Like, he's one of those friends where when you sit with people and we're both musicians, and we've crossed paths a lot of times during the musical journey of our lives, and a lot of other paths that we've crossed together. And it's very interesting how God puts people together in different contexts in church, in life. People that you know that you didn't know that we knew together, and they don't know that we know each other. You know, just a crazy cross of all kinds of things. And it's such a blessing to have today with us our brother Lindsey Stevens. A station for all nations. So, brother, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for being here and just, answering the call for this interview. Most people don't like to sit and just actually have a conversation. And as everybody knows that's been watching the show, I don't script these things. Yeah, so we eating donuts. Yeah. Tim Hortons.
You hit that one?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Hope that we get great conversation going relating to everything that we can possibly bring out and talk about. So like I mentioned, you are a musician, you are a producer, you've done albums for people, you've done things for yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey growing up. Who is Lindsey Stevens, and how did your childhood look like, and how did you even come to, find the Lord and all that kind of stuff? Give us a little background, because I'm going to learn today too. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me today.
Of course, absolutely.
It's been a while since I've done one of these, but it's a blessing to be here.
Cool, man. Happy to have you for sure.
Thank you. So my childhood, I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, which is also known as Kojic.
Okay.
So I've been in there most of my life, over 20 years we're talking.
Okay.
So my grandmother played a huge role in my Christian walk. She was one of them strict parents.
Okay.
So it's like if we had church on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like they used to do it back in the day, I was there for every service.
You got men's week, you got kids week, youth week, women,
and
everything.
Sundays, sometimes you have 3 services. You have Sunday school, then you have your morning service, then you have to come back at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, then, Sunday school, then 6 o'clock. Yeah, man, I remember those.
Don't get me started with the shut-ins, too, because shut-ins.
We used to have Friday night shut-ins all the way into Sunday or Saturday afternoon.
Yeah,
and if they wanted fasting, you couldn't eat, right?
Yeah. You couldn't eat, yeah.
So you grew up in the same kind of,
Yeah, that strict Pentecostal.
Right.
Pentecostal.
Right.
But it's been a blessing being in there. I actually got baptized at the age of 12.
Okay.
My former church was Victory Temple in Camden.
Okay.
It's right near Rutgers University in Camden. It's like if you go over the Ben Franklin Bridge and you see that one historic church, that's that church.
Wow.
So, like I said,
it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, it's still running. Now it's run by Elder Charles Gittens Jr. The founder is his father, Senior, who it's no longer here.
Okay.
But yeah, I was there for most of my life for 20 plus years.
Wow.
20 plus years.
Your whole youth and
my whole youth,
childhood.
and everything. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. So, I learned so much from there. That's where I get most of my Bible knowledge from.
Okay.
Because when it comes to Bible studies, they were very strict, having us memorize verses and.
We used to play games doing that.
I was about to say that. Like, they used to have us have games like knowing the books of the Bible. So we would have this game called Sword Drill. So you have the Bible, arms, charge, Genesis 33:1, and the first person that gets to it, they get the point.
That's exactly how it goes.
And then it would go like. They would have us practice because we had a district. So when we come together for the district meeting, it's like all these churches, we're all trying to be like, okay, we're trying to be the champion this year.
Yep.
And then we had another game called King and Queen of the Question Chair. So basically, anyone that's sitting in the seat, in order for them to be dethroned, somebody asks them a Bible question. If they don't have the answer to the question and the person answers, they switch seats, and then whoever remains in the seat is the king or the queen.
Interestingly enough, you don't see that anymore, man.
No, the studies.
Like, I would be like super, super pumped to bring something back if it was under my control, to bring that back, because I think that really did something to our childhood. It rooted us in the word. It rooted us in the reality of who God is, even through having fun in that context. In that sense, you learn to love the word, bro, because it was fun.
It was fun.
So even though it was a strict upbringing that we were like in the Pentecostal movement, and no matter what, whether it was a black church, whether it was my Hispanic church, or a Pentecostal white. I'm learning white Pentecostal churches. It actually was a thing back in the day, and they still are now.
Still are.
They've actually evolved into, like, I follow a group called Planet Shakers. They're actually Australia Pentecostal churches, a movement of Pentecostal churches. So, and that's why they're so like out there,
Right.
Pentecostals always have the fame of being super out there and very loud and proud about Jesus. Very energetic.
Yes.
How was the music growing up there?
Gospel.
Gospel
music. So that's gospel hymns.
Gotcha.
So anything hymns. So we would sing hymns during the Sunday service, and then everything else was gospel choir.
Gotcha.
It would be gospel praise and worship or choir.
Okay.
But my church was mainly known more so for the choirs.
Okay.
Which is what I found a love for growing up.
Yeah.
Always Hezekiah Walker. That was one of my biggest, like, oh my goodness, I want to be like him, have a big giant crusade choir like he has. Him, John P. Key, and that's the 90s.
That's
we
amazing.
talking the 90s.
No, absolutely.
That's
that was the heyday of that time frame of that,
So choir days, James Hall, and now we have youthful praise, and so. Yeah, choirs, gospel music. That's what I grew up under.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else.
That's awesome, man. That's beautiful.
We're talking about, like I told you, my grandma raised me up for most of my life. When I would go in the car with her, what's playing on the radio? Gospel. I knew nothing about any outside music.
Right.
Because all I heard was gospel music. So that's all I knew.
Yeah. That's kind of like how my music with growing up was like the Hispanic 95 mile an hour corritos, as we call them, and just like, that's all I knew.
Yep. So, that's all I knew.
How did you learn how to play? Did you like automatically, like, how did you learn?
All right. So at the age of 3, I have a backstory. So before we get into
absolutely
how
go in. Yeah, go in with it. Yeah.
So when I was younger, like most boys and guys, you want to play the drums. The drum seems like a cool instrument. So I told myself I'm gonna be a drummer. I had drumsticks and everything. I think my mom was the one that got me drumsticks. But it seemed like my grandma had more pull than my mom at the time.
Okay.
So my grandma was like, "You're gonna play the piano."
Okay.
The piano or the organ.
Wow.
And I was like, "I don't want to play the organ." She's like, "You're going to play the piano and the organ. That's it."
She must have seen something.
She saw something, but she knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing. So I remember going to my first piano lesson, and I was like, I don't care who's coming in here to teach me. I'm going to give them a hard time because I don't want to play the piano. This is not an instrument I'm interested in. So the teacher comes in. Teacher's name Miss Ortiz. So
hold up. Miss Ortiz.
Yes, Miss Ortiz.
Short?
Yes.
Hispanic?
Yeah, yes.
Come on,
yes.
man.
See, we still linked.
Come on, man.
we linked.
How we got the same teacher? All right, I'm gonna let you keep talking, man. This is gonna be this. You're gonna hear me do this a lot because it's been a minute. We talked over some dinner or lunch. I don't remember how far back that was. I don't even remember what we talked about. We just kind of connected. You're gonna hear me do this a lot because we have a lot in common, and this is one of those moments where it's gonna be a treat for me. Not everybody that sits on this couch and talks with me relates in the same way that I do. I mean, you're already telling my story in a lot of ways. So go ahead, Miss Ortiz.
Yeah, so Miss Ortiz come in. She comes in all nice and calm, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Now I'm gonna give her. But she was so nice.
Yeah.
And then she was like, she knew what to do. So she was just teach me like this is C and teach me how to place my hands. I was like, oh, she's too nice. Let me. And
she won your heart over,
right? So I didn't give her a hard time. It was hard for me to give her a hard time because she was so nice.
That's how it is.
She was my first teacher. I remember my first lesson being with Miss Ortiz.
Wow.
And that's how I began my journey as a musician.
I remember a class with her, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I remember vividly, she gave us all sheets, like music bar sheets. She would tell us that this is elementary school, bro. This is like second, third grade. And I still remember this like yesterday. And she would tell us, take this home. She taught us what notes are, just quarter notes.
Right.
And you have to draw it at home, what you want. And then come in next music class and I'll play it for you. And then it came around and she's there and she took out her little piano that was on her cart always. And she would play and some stuff was super interesting. Like just listening to, giving us the opportunity to just express ourselves, even though we didn't know what that was about and how did that work. But then her playing what we literally wrote down did something to me. It was like, is that what that is? Is that what it kind of, she painted a picture of what is theory, music theory in a young age that way, to just see it applied that way. You wrote this down and this is what that sounds like. Right. She did some great things, man, that really, and I remember even, as you said, drums as well. And I was super all about drums because I was the kid that was banging on the desk all day.
That was me.
Dude, I was that kid that was always disrupting the class because I was making a beat. Until very much so, Miss Ortiz, and I'm going to have her come one day and do an interview. That's going to be ridiculously cool, having her sit here. But one day she just kind of saw beyond the disruption, dude, and she came and said, I'm going to give you a desk, I'm going to give you a big stick, and we're going to do an assembly, and we're going to have all the kids come out and have this thing going on where I'm going to play the recorder. She used to play the recorder, remember? And she did this thing with the recorder, and I was the guy that had to do the beat behind it. And she literally put a desk on the stage. If you remember Forest Hill School.
Oh, yeah.
So you remember the little stage they had there?
Yeah,
and dude, and that's where she sat me. And and it was like, it made what was a disruption, it made it art. It made it something with purpose. And it really, really did something to me, bro. I think she laid the foundation for me to this is becoming a Miss Ortiz thing now.
Miss Ortiz.
Dude, between us, yeah. Like, and I'm sure there's more and more kids that were under her that experienced the same thing we did.
We are spotlighting a local performer and music teacher who's doing much more than teaching her students Latin lyrics and songs.
Victoria Woodall went to Alma Music School. She wants to introduce you to Suzette Ortiz.
Ama la tierra en que naciste.
It's not a job, it's not a chore that you're coming to class. You're coming to be with your friend, with your best friend.
There's always that one teacher.
She's the one. She's the one.
whose lessons and love for what they do never leave us. And for so many students and even faculty who've been fortunate to find Suzette Ortiz in their school, she is the one.
Suzette did not know that being a Puerto Rican American, I was born on the island, but a lot of the things I didn't learn because we were living here in the continental U.S. And so as Suzette's teaching these beautiful Puerto Rican songs to the children, she's teaching them to me.
As the artistic director at AMLA Music School in North Philadelphia, she cultivates her students' Latin roots through rhythm and passion. She's described as a walking encyclopedia of Latin jazz, but some students call her something different for the difference she's made in their lives.
I have something they gave me when I retired that says Mom, because not only I was their music teacher, I became their mother. To teach is a gift.
She's a performer, composer, and musical instructor. She plays more than 5 instruments. And at 5 years old, it would have been no surprise she's here behind the piano. But it was a surprise injury that brought her into teaching.
I was 21, and I lost purpose. But I'm glad that happened because it taught me that really purpose in life means it's not about me. When we have this talent, it's for us to share, to try to make a difference.
So tell me more, like, okay, so you must have been in Forest Hill.
No, I wasn't.
No? Where did you see Ms. Ortiz at?
I was not in Forest Hill. My lessons, it was off of Westfield Avenue. It was like...
So you had direct lessons.
It was direct.
It wasn't from elementary school.
No, it wasn't school.
So me was in school. Like I went to class and then she would come in her cart and it was cool, man. I was like...
my grandmom, she found a place for me to go.
Oh,
like I remember it was right
so she
next
did
to,
operate right off of Westfield Avenue.
Next to St. Joe's School.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like a little school
Absolutely.
or something right there.
I remember.
So that's where I would go for my lessons, and that's where I got my first lessons.
I always wished I could find like the way that my mom would have been able to pay for my lessons like that, but I
have no idea.
I was strictly by ear. I never got theory really. Now till like I'm older now, I'm making it a point to learn more about it and to like expand. Right now I'm just in the season right now of bringing you on as much as I can because I want my gospel chops to go up. You know, I'm Hispanic. I'm all about the jazz and the Latin fusions. And I've traveled with friends where they play gospel. Their uncles taught them how to play organ. And I'm like, dude, please teach me this. And the best way now, I know my giftedness is I have a great ear, so I'll listen to you. I'll listen to what you've done. I'll play back things. And, you know, like I think the prayer gathering, we were just like checking out and we played together. I'll go on there and I'll be able to mute you, just leave you on, mute everybody else and listen to what you did. I'm like, man, how do you think like this? How do you get to that place? And I'm like, you can't teach it though. No, there's no way you can really teach it. You just got to experience the journey that you've been on since you were little all the way through church, just playing gospel music. No different than me playing salsa, you know, and playing jazz and all that stuff. It just kind of comes natural because of the exposure. Because I've been, dude, the way I learned was with friends from the block that gigged at bars and places and did like soloing, and they taught me the progression, and I'm sitting there next to them at the bar until one day I was the cover. I was he can't make it, so yo, kid, get on there. And I'm like, ooh, I was so nervous. Have you ever gotten in a situation now, as you grew up in church, you'd play gospel, where you were just put on blast? Like you were just like, dude, it's on you now playing the organ, it's on you playing the piano. How did that feel? What was your first time? Can you recall that?
So it's a funny story. So I started the piano at the age of 3. Then when I got to elementary school, Sharp School, off of River Road. Yeah. So that's the elementary school I went to. Okay. So when it was time for me to choose another instrument, I chose the clarinet. Don't ask me why, but I chose it. I was like, oh, that seems like a cool instrument. You know, you pick it up. I'm just squeak. Yeah. The first year I went through with it, whatever. Then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna switch it up again. Let me do trumpet. Believe it or not, trumpet became my number 1 instrument.
Here we go, y'all. Here's moment number two. Moment number two. Moment number two. I'm going to tell you that story later, how I got to that. Go ahead. You got trumpet.
So trumpet. So from the 4th grade through high school, that's what I played.
That's crazy.
Now, during this time, I was still attending Victory Temple in Camden. I wasn't the main organ. I wasn't the organ player.
Wow.
I was playing horn until this one Sunday. There was no organist, and it was like, well, Lindsey, we know you can play a little bit by ear, because my main instrument was trumpet, so piano was on the back burner.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I could try to figure something out. So they would send me the songs, but we didn't have CDs.
Right.
We had the cassette tape.
Now, you were taking lessons, though, still, right? During that time?
Not piano.
Not yet?
Not piano. I stopped.
Wow.
My full instrument was trumpet.
Was trumpet, starting in school.
Right. So when they came, the time that the choir needed an organist, because they no longer had one. So they was like, Lindsey, you think you can do something? Because we know, you have it in you. I said, I think I could try.
Have it in you, yep.
So cassette tape, put it in, put my ear next to the speaker, have a little keyboard, try to find the note, chord.
God.
I learned by ear. So I started taking lessons, but then when I drifted away from piano and went to trumpet fully, I stopped piano altogether.
Wow.
Until there was a need. They needed somebody to step up, and they believed that I could do it.
That's kind of, well, the believing part, I probably pushed you to that limit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, let me try. I said, I don't think I know anything. So, but I knew like my basics, like the where the notes were. It was these gospel chords.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm listening.
Yeah.
So I would make my own chords that was close to what I heard.
You're answering my question of how to get to that place, because I need to start from zero like that.
Yeah. So I'm like listening, and I'm like, okay, I think I hear this key. And then when I put it together and I was going to the choir rehearsals, everybody was like, yeah, that's it. That's it. It sounds like it. And I was just like, okay.
Cool.
So I just built up from there.
Wow.
And then when we would have our district meetings, I would learn from other organists.
Yeah.
So I would take a little from this guy, a
Yeah.
little from this guy.
Yeah.
Now I have my own sound.
Now you have your own sound.
I have my own. It's a combination of everybody.
That's how it
but now I
works.
have my own personal sound.
That's
like this is
amazing.
my own sound now.
So how did it start becoming now from your own sound? When did you start maturing into a place where now you start playing with other people? When did that start opening up?
When you say what other people,
Well,
you
let's
mean like a group,
let's say somebody heard about you and said, "Yo, we need a piano player over here." You know, when did that start happening?
I had that start in my college days as soon as I went into college.
Okay.
Because Rowan University, they had a gospel choir.
Yeah.
So they needed a keyboard player.
There it is.
So I was like, okay, I can fill in. I've been at that point. I was already playing at the church for years, so I had some more experience.
Yeah.
So that opened the door.
That is cool.
For me to play for Roman Gospel Choir. So I played for them, and then eventually I started playing for other groups like recording artists.
Yeah.
So like. Now we're going back to my grandma forcing me to play the piano.
Yes.
She knew what was the right path.
She saw the future of this.
She saw the future. She knew that more doors would have been open for me playing the piano
instrument
than the drums. So she saw it. She believed that was my calling. And even though I was not for it in the beginning, I thank her this day. Like, thank you for that, because so many doors.
There's a reason I think I've seen drummers know how to play piano.
Yeah.
Because I think they found the value of that nowadays.
Yes, now.
You know, you got MDs, they're drummers, but they know how to MD the piano, tell people, okay. But, you know, I love that they have the vision to at least know, well, I ain't a piano player, so I'll bring in a dude that he knows what he's doing, but I have the ear to know. Because that's gonna help a lot. Yeah, nowadays it's different. Now a drummer can be the lead of things, and you can make a career out of that. But my mom was the same way. She would tell me it's piano. It's piano because that's a lead instrument, and everywhere you go, you're gonna see a piano there, no matter what's the context. And you know, you find a pitch, you need a piano. You don't hear a guitar player going, ging, 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 ging. Here, is that your pitch? They trust the piano for whatever reason, you know. And I teach my kids all the time, you know, because I open up the, you know, I go to shout out to Bridgeton Indian Avenue School. This is where I give lessons on Mondays. And the kids, I'll have an upright piano, I'll open it up and I'll show them the strings inside, and just thinking about a guitar player can't give you, but technically a piano is like a string instrument, but it's actually considered percussion. Yeah. It's crazy, right? And when you think about it, I'm over here going like this on Sundays and doing rhythm with the drummer. That's why it's called a percussion instrument. So kids are like, whoa, this is amazing. But there's a reason why the piano is a lead instrument. It has a little bit of everything, and there's so much history to even how it was all put together. But our love for the music, I think, continues to evolve. I think a conversation that isn't had as much now because everything is so who got Logic on their laptop, who got Fruity Loops on their laptop. Can anybody make a beat now based upon plugins and all these Pro Tools and Waves plugins and all this? Nobody's really put in the time anymore to learn the craft of playing a piano. Legit, straight up. I remember I did a little collab with my brother-in-law years ago, and these reggaeton artists came around town. They came to sing at our church, and young guys, and they saw me on my keyboard doing a beat for my brother-in-law, and they asked, "Did you?" And they were like, "You played on that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So what did you play on it?" Well, I played the main keyboard. Like, he had me play some weird sound, but it was basically me playing. And then there was another lead little thing. And reggaeton is typically like one of those. I literally did that by hand. With the rhythm and everything, the chops, the slicing. It wasn't no plug. That he could have done it that way. But there was something about the organic feel of you doing it that my brother-in-law kept it. And when the guy heard it, he's like, "You did that by hand?" They couldn't understand. Like, how do you... Because I'm a piano player. It's nothing to me. It's nothing to you. It's like you can just do the thing. Versus you got to find a plugin for 5 hours, to do the slicing and the dicing.